I'm excited anytime I have the opportunity to share and present. I always look forward to those opportunities because really my goal with this talk and this presentation, and Brian, feel free to jump in or anybody else who happens to be on here live. If you want to ask questions, I'd love to make this interactive. Otherwise, I can just go. And then I really want to open your mind to possibilities, right? I came from the single family wholesaling world where I did that for almost 15 years. And I can tell you now, having been a self storage owner operator for the last 4+ years, I wish I knew then what I know now. Many of you are experienced, successful real estate investors. You've been in single family. And if you walk away with this slight shift in your belief system that there are just a few tweaks holding you back from getting involved with storage or other commercial real estate asset classes. A lot of the skill sets, guys, that we acquire as single family investors translate over into storage. So appreciate the opportunity, Brian, to kind of share this information with your community. So it's going to be focused around how you guys can find, fund, and profit from self-storage within the next 6 to 12 months. And it says there, without using your money or needing any experience. I'd like to kind of add something else to that without having to keep the focus or take the focus off of your existing single family business. So I will keep this under 60 seconds because this is not about me. Nobody really cares about me. But just so you have a little bit of context of who you're listening to, Brian has met my wife. And so that's my wife, Natalie, and my two girls. That picture was taken about 3 to 4 years ago. So I need to update it, but we love to travel. And those are just a few fun facts about me. Like I try not to take myself too seriously. To me, business is meant to serve our lifestyle and hopefully have an impact on other people. So oftentimes when it can be stressful, you're going through challenging times, try to zoom out and put things in perspective as to why you do what you do. And every now and then I look at pictures of my family, I look at the people I want to help and impact, and it's almost like a recalibration tool where it just resets me. Okay, this is why I do what I do. And whatever I might be going through in this moment is meant for my growth and for me to be able to do more, etc. So I just wanted to share that to encourage you if you're going through a rough season right now. Um, I'm just going to run through this because, again, this is not about me, but I've been in real estate since 2005. I've done, I don't know, probably somewhere around 800 deals in my career, most of which are single family wholesale. But I had kind of a turning point moment in 2017 where I was traveling with my wife and we had a lot of fires going on in our business. It felt like deals were falling through. I remember specifically buyers were poaching our deals. There was a lot of challenges. My overhead had grown to about $40,000 to $45,000 a month. And I remember telling my wife, we were on a cruise, I said, I feel like this business no longer serves me. It no longer aligns with my goals and purposes. And part of the reason I felt that, even though we were very profitable, it felt like I was constantly chasing my own tail. Like I'm starting the month from scratch, starting from zero, just hustling deals. And I had gotten accustomed to the income that wholesaling provides and the income that I was deriving from single family real estate. But I just got burnt out. I got tired of it. And so I said something needs to change. So we started buying rentals, thinking that that was going to be passive. And I quickly learned the hard lesson that having a rental portfolio, there's nothing passive about that. So I was coaching somebody in 2019 who owned a storage facility, and that gave me a big insight into that business. So with that being said, if we would have had this presentation or this talk 5 months ago, I would have owned all these facilities. I have recently, in the last 4 months, sold about 80,000 square feet of storage in Mississippi. And then I own this facility down here in Amelia Island. And I'll kind of do a little mini case study breakdown on how I got these deals. What I want you to filter this conversation through is everything that I've done to get these storage facilities are the same exact things I did to acquire single family wholesale deals, whether it be cold calling or direct mail or relationships. Marketing is marketing. So whatever you're currently doing to get your single family homes, you can do this and apply this towards storage. So Real estate mogul, philanthropist, entrepreneur, Sam Zell said self-storage is the only real estate asset class that performs well in good times and in bad times. And that's one of the things I really learned, Brian, and the rest of the community. When I started to research the storage asset class, what I learned was that storage is considered the most recession resistant of all the commercial asset classes out there. And there's a lot of reasons for that. One of them is it's a very sticky product, right? And I'll talk about that in a second. But when people move into a unit, right, let's call it a 10 by 20, typically the expense of renting that unit is anywhere between 50 and let's call it $350. And so it's a nuisance expense for a lot of people. For most people, that expense is not going to make or break you. And so when people rent storage, they tend to stick for a long time. It's got a lot of low default rates. Like you very rarely do I see a self-storage facility come up for auction or that's being foreclosed on. Part of the reason is because the operating expenses to manage a self-storage facility, it's about 35%, where if you compare that to multifamily, to run and operate a multifamily, typically 45 to 55% operating expense ratio. So all that means, guys, is that you have more profit margin. You have more room in the deal to make a profit. Um, Brian, you know this because you've interviewed me in the past, but like at the peak of my wholesaling, we had a team of 9. And again, I mentioned my overhead was about $45,000 a month. I love the fact that I can own storage and not need any employees, right? I have a third-party management company that has a call center, and then I hire a subcontractor, a part-time boots on the ground person. So we run what's called an unmanned model, meaning when you go to a storage facility, you think that you're going to like walk into an office and speak to somebody behind the counter. I don't have anybody at my facilities. They're completely unmanned, and technology does a lot of the heavy lifting in addition to our third-party management company and our boots on the ground. But this is really what attracted me to storage and why I decided in 2020, hey, I'm going to plant my flag on this asset class. I'm going to focus 100% of my efforts on storage and no longer single family. Now, keep in mind, back then, I didn't know that I could actually have done both because there's just a few tweaks. And that's what I think you're going to walk away with today is unlike residential, in the commercial world, we get to do something called forced appreciation. So what does that mean? That means that the value of these storage facilities, these assets, it's not dictated by what did the other storage facility down the street sell for, right? Commonly what we refer to as comparable sales or comps. In commercial, and storage is just an asset class within commercial, the value of the asset is based on the income that that asset produces, what we refer to as the net operating income. So we can do simple tweaks like bumping the rates, right? The rental rates of our units up. We can introduce fee income like late fees and auction fees. And all of that increases the net operating income. And as a result of that, there's a multiple effect on the value of the facility. So we can force appreciation, which is pretty awesome. And then obviously, why do people get into real estate? They want cash flow and they want to build wealth and they want time freedom. Storage is able to provide that without a lot of the competition, without a lot of the headaches that I dealt with as a single family investor. So this cute little girl, this image to me like represents when I say storage is a very sticky asset and a sticky product. This is what I mean. When people move in, think about the time, energy, and effort that it would take to move all of your content out of a 10 by 20. I can't tell you how many customers have told us, I've been paying this, paying the rent on this unit for years, and I don't even know the stuff that I have in there, or I don't even know the value of it because it's a pain in the butt to move your stuff in and then think about moving out. So it's a very sticky product. I don't have to deal with this, right? I don't have to deal when I had a rental portfolio, I had to deal with tenant turnover and I had to deal with toilets, right? And I realized this is a pretty nasty image, but I didn't have to deal with toilets. I didn't have to deal with trash. In storage, we don't have to deal with evictions because in storage, there's something called lien laws, which means that depending on where that facility is located, generally speaking, within 60 to 70 days, we can essentially auction off the contents of the unit and then put it back online to rent. So I'm not dealing with a 3 to 6 month or more and a costly and expensive eviction process. It's a lien law, so we get to turn over these units pretty quickly, provided we dot certain I's and cross certain T's in terms of giving notification to the customers. But guys, in summary, I love the fact that in storage, I'm not dealing with tenants, I'm not dealing with toilets, I'm not dealing with trash. I mean, think about what we do. We rent space. It's a pretty simple, boring business. There's not a lot that goes into it. There's never an emergency that I've had to deal with in storage. And that provides and allows for a lot of time freedom. Um, so I'm going to skip through some of these quotes just so I can kind of get to the meat of the talk here. But these are some of the things that, Brian, and for those listening, when I speak to people, most of the time people think that they need money. People think that they need a lot of the things that I have on this slide, and they actually don't. So I've now been involved in six, maybe seven storage deals. I have yet to use any of my own money to purchase any of these facilities. So they've all been structured in different ways, and I'm going to show you in a few slides here a couple different ways that you can structure these deals. But by the way, same exact things I did in the single family world, whether it's seller financing or equity partners or private lenders, all of those different ways that you can structure single family deals, you can structure storage deals. So here's the biggest thing is that challenge any limiting beliefs you might have about feeling like you need to have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in your bank account to be able to buy these assets, because that's just not the case, right? I'm not saying you don't need capital. I'm saying it doesn't have to be yours if you don't have it. So here's case study number one. And Brian, I'm not monitoring the clock, so let me know how I'm doing on time. I realize I'm kind of running through this because we have a small window here, but this storage facility, American Mini Storage, is a 43,000 square foot facility that I closed on September of 2021. Bought it for 1.592 million. I didn't have 1.592 million. In fact, I didn't even have the 15% down payment money that we needed, which was about 340 grand or so. So what did I do is I brought in an equity partner, somebody who I had a relationship with, who had money sitting on the sidelines, but he didn't have time. And I went out and I got SBA financing. So SBA is the Small Business Administration. SBA financing is fantastic because I was able to get 85% financing from the SBA. And then I brought in an equity partner to fund the 15% down payment that we needed. And I gave him a piece of the deal. He got equity in the deal. And we just sold this. It says selling, but it should say sold. So we closed on October 31st of last year, 2024, sold for 2.495. And we held that for exactly 3 years. We got cash flow on a monthly basis. And then you can kind of do the math on, minus a 5% broker commission and a little bit of closing cost. It was a pretty successful sale, right? And we made on this one deal what it would take me a year and a half to 2 years in my wholesaling business, with a lot more time, energy, and headache to generate and, doing a lot of wholesale deals. So what was the keys to doing this deal? It all boiled down to, first of all, I decided and I committed that I wanted to do storage, but really it was all about relationships, right? The fact that, and Brian is just a fantastic networker and somebody who anytime he speaks, listen, because Brian is like me, we're relationship driven, right? We're not looking for certain outcomes. We're not looking in the short term. We're looking to go deep with the right people. And then organically and inevitably, when you just give to the relationship without the expectation of something in return, whenever you do have an ask or you present people with an opportunity, people tend to raise their hands, right? Because they've built a certain level of trust in you. And anyway, so relationships was a key driver to being able to do this deal. I talked about this, right? No tenants, no toilets, no relationships, or no evictions, I should say. Multiple profit centers. We talk about forced appreciation. I love the fact that there's a lot of built-in profit centers within storage, like admin fees and tenant protection, late fees. When you implement those fees, all of that trickles down to the net operating income, which again increases the value of the facility. And this is something a lot of people don't know. Most of this business is automated. And when I say most, I'm talking like 70% of it. Like I've never spoken to a customer on the phone about like all their unit or their code or their stuff. They rent online, they get their gate code online or on their phone. Like everything literally is done on their phone, mobile, or online, right? Which is awesome. Um, Here's a second case study. This is the one that I currently own in Amelia Island. We bought this on 90% seller financing, and then I brought in a private lender to fund the 10% down. So we bought it for 2.1 million, and we got some ridiculous terms like 3.25 fixed interest rate over 5 years. We just got really, really good terms. And this facility, it's actually a little bit less right now. This facility is generating roughly somewhere between 3,500 and 4 grand a month in cash flow right now. Now, when we get this facility to about 85% occupancy, this one storage facility will see around 8 grand, maybe a touch higher in net positive cash flow. I think back to when I was trying to build a single family rental portfolio, like how many houses would I have to own in order to generate 8 grand a month in net cash flow? And so with commercial, you just get the economies of scale. You get, in this particular case, I have 7 roofs. I don't have 70 roofs. I have one tax bill. I don't have 70 tax bills if you're trying to build a rental portfolio. So you get some of those economies of scale. And by the way, we just hit the market to sell this, and we're selling for 3 million. So, and I think we owe about 1.8 and change. So that is the power of storage, and we've owned this facility for about 2 years. Is that you can create a lot of equity in a relatively short amount of time, and then our goal is to take that equity and then find the next opportunity in the right market. Brian, by the way, feel free to jump in if you have any questions about any of this,
I
or
got a question.
yeah, go for it.
Can we go back to that last screen for a second?
Yeah.
So it's currently, you said it's currently netting 3,500-ish in cash flow. Projected cash flow at 85% occupancy is $8,000 a month. So it's obviously not to that point yet, but you're still selling it. I'm thinking of more like a flip. I'm thinking of more like if it's even some of the apartment folks that I know that they want to go in and buy something that's distressed. They want to force the appreciation. They want to increase the rents. They want to get it stabilized, and then they go to market and sell it. Tell me kind of why you're doing what you're doing here,
Yeah.
versus getting it completely stabilized and ready to go.
Yeah, great question. One of the KPIs, the metrics that I look at is ROE, return on equity. So return on equity basically means like how much net cash flow do I get on an annual basis relative to the equity that I would draw from that asset if I were to sell it. And what I've determined is that, we'll probably net, again, we're into it for 2.1. We expect to sell for at 3. We'll probably net a little bit over 800 grand on this deal. And by the way, that's my partner. So we own it 50-50. We believe that in the time it's going to take us to go from 62 or 63% occupancy, which is where we're currently at, to 85% occupancy, it were to make more sense to take that 850 grand that we think we would net on selling this asset and find another opportunity versus the 40 plus $1,000 a year that we're getting in net cash flow as we're working on increasing it. So we just decided we'd rather have the capital now, 1031 it into something else without the debt. And the other factor here is that this is like minutes from the beach, and insurance has gotten really, really crazy expensive. Insurance in Florida, I don't think is going down anytime soon. And so that's one of those costs that we think is going to be climbing in the next couple of years even more. And so those are a few of the reasons that we decided, hey, instead of stabilizing this and getting it to 85% occupancy, let's go ahead and sell this, take some chips off the table, maybe do a 1031 into a different asset.
And also, I understand that, everybody's strategy is going to be different. And, like you said, your strategy on this one is, hey, let's just go ahead and let's go ahead and cash it out. And I'm sure that the 5 year, I think you said that there's a 5 year balloon on it. Is that what you said?
Yeah, yeah, which we have a little bit under 3 years left on that.
Right. So I'm sure that might be a factor as well. But, I also think, a lot of the folks who I do know who are doing self-storage, they're doing this for long-term cash flow. And you may be getting to this, and I may be getting ahead of what's the ultimate goal for you, or what's the ultimate goal for some of your students, some of the folks that you're actually talking to? Is it for cash flow? Obviously, it's going to be personal. It's going to be different for everybody. But are you looking for cash flow here? Because it looks like a pretty strong asset. to keep money in so you can
Yeah.
cash flow that long
Yeah,
term?
100%. Look, it's a great question, Brian. When I transitioned from single family to storage, I did it because I wanted to get out of the grind and the hustle of constantly turning properties, right? And so the long-term plan here is cash flow. Like I want to be able to live and feed my family and have the excess cash to travel and do the things we want to do to give more from my storage portfolio. What I have strategically been trying to do over the last couple of years is take chips off the table so that I can go buy these assets with cash, get really, really good deals, and then turn around and put long-term financing in place. So right now I'm in the process of just building that capital stack so that I can have more because I want to get to the point where I'm not relying on an equity partner or somebody to a private money lender. I want to be able to be liquid enough where I can go buy these assets with cash, which would give me really, really good deals. Then I can turn around after I've gotten the right deal and put long-term debt on it, if that makes sense. So, yeah. But to answer your question even more directly, most people that I talk to, what they're really after is the cash flow. But one of the things I do with coaching clients is I walk them through a process of getting crystal clear about what season in life they're in right now. There's people that I work with that they're trying to get out of their job and they need cash today, not cash later. And then there's other people that it's like, no, I'm good with the current income I make. I'm looking to build a steady flow of cash flow. And so depending on your goal, we kind of take a little bit of a different path to get there. So guys, now I want to get to something like tactical. Hopefully the first part of this presentation was kind of opening your eyes to like why storage and what's possible. Now I want to get to like some brass tacks, some things that anybody here can go to Google and start locating mom and pop storage facilities. And when I say it's so easy, like if we have time, I could literally like do it live and show you if you guys just give me any market. But let me just kind of give you a quick rundown. These are some of the things that we look for. Like I'm born and raised in Miami. I've never spent 1 minute looking for storage in Miami. I avoid the big metro cities. I'm looking for towns that have what we call secondary markets. Think of a population between 1,000 and 60,000 people. I like to be in markets where obviously there's job growth, the population is increasing, it's starting to grow. And then I look for medium household income of at least $50,000 a year. Now, what I just shared with you are not hard and fast rules. They're rules of thumb, right? This is where I initially start my search. Uh, and then when it comes to marketing, and I'm actually going to show this and demonstrate this live, these are some of the things I look for. We go to Google Maps and I look for facilities that there's clear signs that it's run and operated by a mom and pop owner. And some of those clear signs, no website, or the website looks like it was built 20, 30 years ago. Google reviews, they either don't have any Google reviews or they have really poor and low Google reviews. Having a website and having a strong online reputation is super important in storage. Storage is a business, guys, that has have the benefit of real estate, right? It has all the depreciation, appreciation, the tax benefits, but it's an actual business. That's why the Small Business Administration gives loans when you're purchasing a storage facility. You can't go get an SBA loan when you're buying a single family home because it's not a business, the house itself. Um, and and so these are some of the things that we look for when we start to build our what I call our top 100, right? Like our storage avatar or storage prospect list. And then here's a simple example. So this can apply to any city in any state, in any part of the country. This is just an example, West Laco, Texas. Never been there, never heard of it prior to me putting these slides together. Population right under 41,000 people. It checks off some of the boxes that I initially talked about. All you guys have to do is click on the button that says nearby, which is right here, and type in self-storage. When you do that, it's going to pull up all of the storage facilities. You see these red dots? That's called the Google Map Pack, right? These are the storage facilities that Google is picking up in and around that area. And here's a perfect example, Texas Boulevard. And let me expand my screen a little bit in case you guys can't see that. You see how Texas Boulevard doesn't have a circle here that says website? Here's a perfect example of a facility that we would add to our list. And by the way, when I say we, I have a virtual assistant that builds the list so that I'm not spending time on this type of thing. No website. They don't even have a phone number. Low number of Google reviews. You can see only 2 Google reviews right here. And then one of the ways that we contact these people is we smile and dial. We literally just call them, and we also send a direct mail letter. So every single deal that I've purchased has either been from direct mail, a cold call, like just a random cold call out of the blue, or through a relationship. So these are ways that you guys can start building a list of mom and pop operators for free. Or if you have a virtual assistant very, very cheaply, you can just start building a list and then calling and or sending a direct mail piece. Um, Brian, any questions as far as this is concerned? Because I could literally just show this live, or we can keep going if you
Man,
prefer.
can we let's do it live, man.
Yeah,
Can we do
let's do
that?
it. Let's do it. All right. So
This looks
check
pretty
this out.
cool.
Let me start thinking, Brian, of a any city in any state here in the country, because uh, obviously I
Let's,
didn't know. I don't
yeah,
know
let
what
me
you're
know
going
when
to
you're
tell me.
ready.
All right, let me just share my screen here. Okay, give me a quick thumbs up when you can see my screen, brother.
Got it? Google.
Okay, so I'm going to go to maps.google.com. All right, give me a city state.
See if Chelsea, Chelsea, Alabama.
Okay, right
I
here.
don't know how big exactly Chelsea is. Does it tell you?
Let's see
Is it,
here.
is it
Okay,
too
with a
big?
population of 906. So this is like just on the outskirts. Like this is a pretty small town. This is what I would consider a
No, no, no,
rural
no, no.
market.
No, no, no. Look below that. That's said in 1996. It's grown. It's now
Oh,
almost
okay, okay. I'm sorry. I'm
15,000.
sorry. 14th. Perfect. Okay. Now I don't know what the household medium income is, but for the sake of the illustration,
It's
it's
high.
fine. So right here, I'm going to click on nearby, and we're going to type in self-storage.
Well, Alex, let me ask you this: Is it because the household income is this is a pretty affluent suburb that's massively growing in Birmingham. Is this too? Is it can it be too high?
No, I mean the higher the better, quite
Okay.
honestly. Yeah, the higher the better. I mean, if I mean Amelia Personal Storage, I think the average medium income is like 140,000, which is amazing. That just means you're going to have low collection issues. You're not going to be dealing with just it's just better. The higher the better. So couple things to mention is if you see any of the big operators like Public Storage, Cube Smart, Extra Space, those are owned by the REITs, the Real Estate Investment Trust. I tend to avoid markets where because we don't want to compete with the big operator, the class A facilities where Brian, you and I might want to store our stuff there. Like I'm not seeing that in this particular market. So here's what I'm looking at on the left-hand side. Here's a perfect example. 280 space self-storage. No website. How do I know there's no website? You see these facilities that have a website? They have no website. Now, let me give you some context as to how important a website is in storage. More than 71, 72% of our rentals come from some type of online marketing, whether that's pay-per-click or search engine optimization. So not having a website means that they literally rely on referrals and or drive-through traffic. So not having a website, even the narrow self-storage that has a website, they only have 7 reviews. That's not a lot of reviews. Now they're doing well. They have 5.0, which is great, but they don't have a lot of reviews. Take a look at this one, Self-Storage 101. They only have 2 reviews. So let's actually click on their website and let's take a look. Okay, so nice looking website. So it doesn't mean that I wouldn't add this facility to our list, but like Bob, I bet you anything is the owner of this facility. Like it's
Well,
even in his name here.
you know what's interesting is that the phone number is not our local area code.
So that tells me a couple things. Okay, Copper Safe Storage. This is actually the third party management company that I work with. So that to your point, 727, if that's not local to Alabama, then that means that he's like me. He lives in probably a different state and he turned it over to third party management to basically run the show for him.
Hmm.
Okay. But this is what I'm looking for. Like I'm literally going down the road here and or down the line and I'm literally just looking for, like, look at this. 20 reviews, pretty decent, but 4.4, not great. I might click on the website and hopefully I can find, this is a perfect example. You can tell by looking at this that this was built many, many years ago. Like the images is blurry. Like I know with certainty that this is a mom and pop operator, right? They have a Facebook here. So I love going to Facebook because you can send them a message directly on Facebook. In fact, I've had students that have had success going to Facebook Marketplace, Brian, and looking for the storage owners that are advertising units for rent, like a 10 by 10 for 60 bucks, and just sending them a DM. Hey, would you consider an offer for your facility? Have you ever considered selling? And so it's very easy to get in contact with these mom and pop storage operators. Sometimes I'll submit their web forms and I'll get a response back, and then I'll strike up a conversation with them. Sometimes you'll even see their email address, like bobstorage@gmail.com,
Mm,
like clear sign and indication that it's a mom and pop storage operator.
mm.
So that's literally like that's one of the things that we do is we build lists of mom and pop storage owner operators, and then we can cold call them if you don't have any money, or if you just prefer to connect with somebody, or if you do have a little bit of money, you can send very targeted direct mail campaigns.
Got it.
So those are just, I wanted to show that quickly how easy it is that you can train a virtual assistant to start building a prospect list for you.
That's awesome.
So
Thank you for doing that.
yeah, man, yeah. While I am getting my PowerPoint up and running here, any other questions, man, that you think anybody watching this might have, or should I keep going?
No, I mean, I think the big questions are things that you're going to get to. I think a lot of us know how to contact somebody. We can skip trace. We can find it. We can send direct mail. I think a lot of us know how to do that. If you don't know how to do that, I actually just did a video on that, so I can show you that. But just kind of like the basic stuff of how do you value the thing when you're talking to somebody and trying to negotiate. Obviously, I would want to probably go off NOI and try to see, what's the market. I don't know. Is there a market cap rate? Does it work like that? I would
Yeah,
have questions like valuation type
got
of
it.
thing. But you
So
keep going through your thing, and I
yeah,
don't want to interrupt you.
I'll keep going. And Brian, if you want, man, I have a Dropbox that has some resources. One of those resources is what I provide to coaching clients. That's called an offer range calculator. And you kind of hit the nail on the head. Like the one of the numbers that's really important that I get when I speak to a storage owner is how much revenue, either annual or monthly, did you generate? And then if I just have that one number, the offer range calculator will give me a range based on anything between an 8 cap and a 12 cap, and it'll give me a range of what ballpark should I be in. Now, that is not a substitute for what we call underwriting, basically analyzing the deal, but I can quickly just see, am I even in the same arena or ballpark with that storage owner based on what they'd like to get for the facility, right? This facility right here is a small, tiny little town in Louisiana called Natchitoches. And kind of a cool story, Brian. This was June of 23, June of 2023. I got a call from a lady who said, "Hey, Alex, you don't know me. We haven't spoken, but I've actually been holding on to a letter you sent me about my storage facility for 2 years. God's honest, true. Like she's like, I've been holding it in my drawer. And the reason I held on to it is because I knew I wanted to sell. I just didn't know when I was ready. And I'm calling to see if you're still interested." So, of course, I was still interested. We have a really good conversation. At the end of that conversation, I said, "Let me ask you a question. You said you've been holding on to my letter for 2 years. Like, why'd you hold on to it for so long?" And she goes, "Well, it usually, I get letters from time to time. And I usually just chuck them. That's the word she used. I chuck them. I throw them away." And she says, "But you had a beautiful picture of your family, and it felt like you were speaking to me. It was very personalized." So in that Dropbox, for anybody that wants it, I have that the same exact letter word for word that you guys can copy it, swipe it, deploy it. Obviously, just don't use my family picture, of course, but you guys can use the letter. So anyways, I realize you're not going to be able to see this. The point of this slide is not for you to be able to read it really, but I bought this facility for 400,000, and I received a wire the day after closing for 150 grand. So when I said I bought it, I contracted it, and the seller's attorney did not allow us to assign the contract. So basically, what we did was I found the buyer. I created an entity, an LLC in Louisiana, and then I assigned 100%, or I sold 100% of the interest in that LLC for 150 grand. Now, I share that with you because some of you guys might be listening and saying, "Hey, can you wholesale storage?" Absolutely. I've done it several times. The only difference is that the wholesale fees, generally speaking, are a lot bigger than 5, 10, 15, 20 grand in single family. This is the letter, by the way. And I literally just went and I underlined certain things that I think make it a compelling letter. And I'm not a copywriter. I'm no Russell Brunson or Dan Kennedy, right? But one of the things I like to do is when I write letters, I try to write it as if I was writing it to like my grandmother or my mother. Like I want it to be personable. I'm not using industry jargon. I'm not saying, "Hey, I'll buy your facility fast with cash." Like I'm not using any of that crap. And then here's the picture of my family. And look at the PS. If I'm not able to pick up, please leave me a voicemail. I'm just a regular guy raising two little princesses with my wife, and they keep us busy. Like that's the God's honest truth. And it comes across that way. I've gotten a lot of feedback on this letter. So in that Dropbox, you'll have this letter. And then again, just obviously replace my name and contact information and the picture of the family. So, Brian, that's pretty much it in terms of we can open it up to like any Q&A that you might have or anything else. But there's some quotes here. I'm very bullish on the asset class for a lot of reasons that we talked about. I do have a dedicated coaching program that's all designed around helping people buy their first storage facility within 6 to 12 months. For anybody that's interested or curious in learning more about that, you can just go to storagewins.com. And then more importantly, for anybody that wants those resources, send a text the word storage and then put Brian's last name, Tripp. That way I know that you came from Brian's community. And then I'll have my assistant send you a Dropbox that has like all these resources, like training, the letter, the offer range calculator, like a lot of things that you guys can use to get started in this business without having to go out and hire a coach or, invest a lot of money. Like literally anybody can do this.
Alex, this has been awesome. I think the big thing for me, the big takeaway for me was actually like doing it live. I love stuff like that. And your presentation, I'm not is really good, really solid, but the hands-on, the applicable stuff where
Yeah.
we can actually like go in the letter, the resources, and then actually seeing how you're going in here and finding stuff that's literally in my own backyard, which we don't have to be in our own backyard, obviously,
You
but
don't.
because we
Yeah.
can be anywhere. But it's really neat to kind of see that. And
Yeah.
just I think the questions I have, you answered them really was just around how to evaluate one, which if it's like any real estate, or if it's like any kind of multifamily real estate, I should say, then it's all based on the NOI. It's all based on the cap rate and things like that. So it's been interesting and just having conversations with people. I mean, I remember years ago I bought a mobile home park,
Right.
a 59 space mobile home park, and it was literally no different than wholesaling a house, going and buying a single family house. You're just the numbers are bigger, right? And
That's it.
it's more things to look at. There's more units to kind of like go in and see and evaluate, but the numbers were bigger, the fee was bigger, this was big. I mean, everything was just you're just playing kind of with the big boys. But
That's
you're
it.
still
That's it.
evaluating it the same way. It's still looking at a cap rate and still have down payments and still have private money and it's just everything we kind of know about real estate. You're just applying it to self storage.
Exactly right. By the way, so this is a Google spreadsheet right now. So this is that offer range calculator I was referring to, right? Where all you need to do is like if you get the monthly revenue from the storage owner, you just pop it in here and then it'll give you a range. And it's meant to give you a pretty broad range. It's not meant for you to dial in an offer on the spot, but we use this when we're on the phone with storage owners just to see if we're in the ballpark, right? Based on just the one data point that they give us, which is revenue. And then there's even a built-in script here that, hey, if they are interested, if you're in the ballpark, these are the specific questions to ask. If the offer's too low and you're not in the ballpark, here's how you can kind of guide that conversation. So yeah, it's very simple, easy to use. Again, when I was in single family and I thought about multifamily or storage, there was some intimidation with like, oh man, I need to have a bunch of money or I need to have this and that. And I can tell you now, man, having focused on this for almost 5 years, is that the only thing holding people back is just the belief that this takes a lot more than what it actually does. Now, with that said, like energy, like anything, it takes time, energy, and focus. I don't want to make it sound like you just press an easy button and you have like storage cash flow raining down on your head. But it's also a pretty simple business that doesn't really have a ton of moving parts to it.
No, it's been great. Thank you for doing this, Alex. I think that you're exactly right. And a lot of the folks that have experience already with real estate, all these things are just they're already familiar to us that you're talking
Yeah.
about. Most of us should already have private lenders. You've already built relationships with people, and you're probably doing it in your you've probably flipped a house. You've probably done something. Even I know folks that have even used private lenders and have equity partners for single family just to buy and hold for rentals.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's
100%.
it's been
Man, one parting thought for people, and I think this can hopefully I'm kind of getting you guys thinking is get super clear on what skill sets you have, what assets and resources you have access to. Because as an example, let's say I was like talking to Brian and Brian's like, hey, I really want to get involved in storage, but I got my single family business, I got this, I got so many things going on. And let's say Brian was a really, really good marketer. Like he just knew how to generate leads. Well, that's super valuable. Brian can double down and focus his efforts on generating storage leads and then building a relationship, connecting with somebody like me, and then funneling those leads to an actual operator to carve out a piece of these deals, right? And so you don't have to wear all hats to all parts of this business. If you're really, really good at one particular thing and that's where you want to stay in that lane, maybe you're good at raising capital. Well, that's super valuable. Like connect with somebody like me, another storage operator, and say, hey, I have access to capital. What could we work out on deals that you gain? Like you can carve out equity in these deals and cash flow just by focusing and doubling down on the thing that you're very, very good at.
Love it. Thank you, Alex. I appreciate you speaking to our community. I know that a lot of folks aren't watching this live, which they had the opportunity to, but and they had the opportunity to ask you questions. But definitely take advantage of Alex's offer. Go and go sign up. I'm going to do it. Go sign up for his to receive all those resources, which are going to be invaluable if this is something that you're interested in doing. And even if it's not, it's a great little niche to kind of know more about real estate just in general. I think it is. So, Alex, again,
Yeah.
thank you for speaking to our community. I appreciate you, man.
Thank you, brother. Yeah. Anybody interested in reaching out? Again, just text the word storage and then trip in parentheses 305-318-6213. And we'll send you over those Dropbox. By the way, like no opt-in page, no, like you don't have to jump through a million hoops. We'll just shoot it over to you. And then if you have any questions, let me know.
Perfect. Thanks, Alex. Appreciate
All
you,
right.
man.
Take care, guys.
All right.